This is the Stock Day Podcast, sponsored by ION Digital, providing secure, compliant ecosystems you can trust. That's ION Digital. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews. Public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. Here's your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, I'm bringing you a brand new company, came on our radar about 30 days ago. The name of the company is ION Energy Ltd. They trade on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol ION. So if you're up there in Canada, you can look them up there. Down here in the States, they trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol IONGF. With us today is the CEO and director. He's going to bring us up to speed, Ali Haji. Ali, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Before we get started with the Q&A, if you would, give my listeners just a little bit of a backstory. Who are you guys and what do you do?
Absolutely. ION Energy is a company I co-founded in 2017 with the purpose of looking at lithium in Mongolia. I was advising another company by the name of Step Gold, the current producer in Mongolia, through an acquisition from Centerra Gold. And in my time there, we had an opportunity to look at the geology and understood Mongolia to be part of the Great Asian Indo-Arctic Basin, which is similar to the geology in Latin the Lithium Triangle today. Currently, ION Energy has 110,000 hectares across 2 licenses in 2 provinces in Mongolia. One of our assets is 23 kilometers from the Chinese border, with grades as high as 1,502 ppm. Our other asset, Urgakh Naran, is about 150 kilometers from the Chinese border, and has a fault-bound basin on which we've completed geophysics, we've completed our water wells and our lithological drilling, and we're on the cusp of an inferred resource.
Well, I'm super excited to have you on the show because I think you really have something special going on with your company. But if you would, tell us why investors should be interested in ION Energy value proposition of being a first mover in lithium brine explorer in Mongolia.
You hit the nail on the head there, first mover and Mongolia. We are located, as I mentioned, very close to the largest consumer on the planet. And as a first mover, we built a team early on before we had any assets that included veterans from Tesla, from Lithium Americas, and from Neo Lithium. These individuals advised us through the acquisition of our assets and helped develop the exploration programs that have brought us to the stage that we are at today. Now, if you were to look at an asset in South America that perhaps is neighboring a major, so SQM is an example in the Atacama, if you had an asset that was in and around that vicinity, you could point at SQM and say, well, SQM's market cap is in the billions of dollars. If I were to square off some land right beside them, I should be at least worth a couple $100 million. Well, in Mongolia, being first movers, despite having a team of individuals that have built and sold companies such as Neo Lithium, we are the first movers there. So we can't point at anybody and justify a valuation that would be alongside our peers or comparative to some of our peers that are operating in LATAM. So we're vastly discounted in that regard. We've shown with the work that we've done over the last 2 years on technically that we have a 9.9 billion cubic meter basin beneath surface with grades that are in and around the 320 ppm mark across 100-meter intercepts. So when we do announce that inferred resource here in due course, and my expectation is that we'll be doing so in sometime in May this year, you will start to see a significant re-rate in terms of the equity of the company, the value proposition that we will continue to provide, and of course, let's not forget, once again, that proximity play to the largest consumer on the planet.
Right now, you guys are pre-revenue, to my understanding. When do you think you'll start actually putting revenues on the books?
Well, having been in Mongolia since about 2009 as a group, we had one very successful coal exit in 2011, 2012. And then, as I mentioned, we acquired a gold asset from Centerra back in 2016. That went public in 2018 and poured first gold in March 2020. So in about a 2-year span from essentially a greenfield piece of land to pouring gold is extremely quick, irrespective of jurisdiction. With ION, when we have our inferred resource in and around May of this year, we'll spend a bit of time calculating our measured and indicated, and we'll likely have our pre-feasibility and scoping done before the end of the year. And once you have a bankable feasibility in order to build an asset, given our asset is 7 kilometers from the power grid, the expectation would be we can bring something to production in about 2 years' time.
Gotcha. With recent investments by U.S. investors in the Thacker Pass, why should they also be excited about your ION Energy project, especially up there in the Narun project in Mongolia?
If you look at Thacker Pass and sort of the grades that are associated with the clays and evaporites, we have an asset, Bob Iol, that has very similar grades. In fact, our maximum grade is about 1,502 ppm, which exceeds some of Thacker Pass's numbers. Why that's relevant, the likes of GM putting over $700 million in development for clay assets for the United States, I think is a big win. It signifies that we will have to look at unconventional sources for lithium, and clay is one of those. So with Bob Iol, we cover that box, and we check that box. With Urgas Narun, we're very similar to Albemarle Silver Peak Mine. In fact, so similar that our asset size is about the same as Albemarle Silver Peak. Our altitude is only 100 meters below that of Silver Peak. However, our grades in terms of the drilling results thus far are about 2.5 times higher than Albemarle Silver Peak Mine. So once again, not having an asset beside us that is in production or has a proven resource is allowing us to be vastly discounted relative to our peers that, as I mentioned, are the likes of Lithium Americas and Albemarle Silver Peak Mine in Nevada.
Ali, you shared a lot of exciting ION story with us, including the proximity to the inferred calculations. My question to you is, why do you believe that ION is so undervalued, given your value proposition and the evident lithium supply crunch?
Well, as first movers, I think, proving that Mongolia does in fact have the resources necessary to come to production, that's step one, being a first mover. It's up to us to prove that. The team that we've assembled, that includes Neo Lithium, Lithium Americas, and Tesla alumni, are a strong enough foundation for us to say with a level of confidence that we are certain that we will have an inferred resource this year that will allow us to prove that, in fact, lithium does exist in Mongolia. So without having that proximity play, there's a vast discount. The other piece that I should speak to is the fact that we started the company in 2017 when the price of lithium was about $2,000. We know Mongolia. We brought a gold mine to production there, so we were capable of bringing assets to production. And we were never banking on the price hitting $85,000 or wherever it may be today. I believe it's about $40,000. Wow. However, we've seen a number of lithium companies come online in the last 18 to 24 months that are essentially riding this high price. And the expectation there is that they come up with some proprietary technology to produce lithium carbonates from unconventional sources, but they need to be profitable. And with the price coming down the way it is, that was always our expectation. We see it settling at about $16,000. Again, I am no oracle, but that's our guess based on the pedigree of our team. And so a lot of these new players that are in the market today that tell you that they're bringing these unconventional sources to production may not be relevant as the price starts to come down. An example would be the oil sands in Alberta. That only comes online when oil is over $100 US per barrel. And so you're going to start to see a lot of these lithium players fizzle off that have been around for 18 to 24 months. However, a company like ION Energy that's been around since 2017, that's showing grades almost 2.5 times higher than the only operating brine asset in North America today, and that's Albemarle Silver Peak Mine, in a jurisdiction in which we can bring things to production rather cheaply. We brought that gold project, Step Gold, to production with a $20 million US capex budget. So we can do things rather cheaply in a jurisdiction that is mining friendly, and once again is located closest to the major consumer on the planet today. So from an ESG perspective as well, we're not putting lithium on the back of bunker burning ships that have to sail from Australia to US or from LATAM to China. We're a mere number of kilometers away from that large consumer. So I think you'll start to see a bit of a re-rate here in our value proposition and our equity comparables as we start to announce the inferred resource, which will occur in May of this year.
Ali, first of all, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really do appreciate for your time. Second, I always ask my CEOs this: what is it that you want my listeners and your stockholders to take away from today's interview?
I'd like to thank you for that, Everett. But for the listeners today, I'd like you to take away this new and exciting story that I've been working rather hard on since 2017. And we're on that cusp of an inferred resource, which will give us the re-rate to prove that we are, in fact, a fantastic value proposition for investment.
If you want to know more about the company, go to their website. It's IONEnergy.ca. Again, you can find them on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol ION. You can find them on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol IONGF. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Ali. Hopefully you become a regular, come back every 40 to 55 days and give us an update.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by La Jolla Media LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are for educational and research purposes. Stock Day encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional.